format of IELTS is there are two different modules of IELTS. One is academics and another one is general. For immigration purposes, mostly we are dealing with IELTS academics, mean the people who are going abroad to Europe for studies. The whole band, overall bands of IELTS are from 1 to 9. One band mean that you are, someone is at extremely beginning stage of IELTS, English speaking proficiency, as it is an English proficiency test. So one band mean somewhat in the beginning, and nine bands mean that someone is on the highest level of English speaking proficiency. When you are attempting the test, so there are two modes of the test. One is paper based and other is computer delivered. Paper-based test is the answers are given on a paper, and computer-based test is attempted on computer. It depends on the participant whether on the or on the candidates whether he prefer paper-based or computer-based. It depends on you. It is your choice. Then you know that there are four modules in all. One is listening. First one is listening. Listening it lasts for 30 to 60 minutes. And the second one is reading. Reading is for 60 minutes. We have details about all these three. Writing as well. Writing has it is 60 minutes. Is the last one which we are going to discuss today's speaking module. This module lasts for 11 to 14 minutes. 11 to 14 minutes, and this test has three parts. As we already talked about many different modules. Uh, for example, in writing we had parts. One is writing 150 words, graph, table, comparison, etc., and pie chart, etc. And the other one was writing an essay. In this module, in IELTS speaking, we have three parts in all: part one, part two, and part three. Part one, it is all about you. All about you mean the examiner asks you questions which are totally relevant to you. Mean it will be a short introduction. For example, they say, "What's your name? Where are you from? What's your hobby? What's your interest? What do you do? What do you do in your part time?" etc. Mean all the questions in this part will be about you, and you are going to be brief in this part while you are answering the examiner. You need to be brief, mean that you may not go into too much details. You just
हाँ
structure, neither too brief, mean one sentence.
बहुत अच्छी शानदार स्याना काम बहुत स्याना काम
सारे participants अपने माइक बंद करें, प्लीज म्यूट योर माइक्स और टर्न ऑफ योर माइक्स, ऑल ऑफ यू. अच्छा, तो it is all about you. The examiner asks you, and this session continue for 3 to 4 minutes, which I am going to talk about in the next, about which I am going to talk about in the next slide. Then we have part two. In part two, we are given a topic card, which is called Q card in the terms of IELTS. And that card, which I also going to talk about you in the next slides, you are asked some questions. For example, say something about there are some topic, and on the base of that topic, we have some questions which you are going to answer. You are given 1 minute to prepare the cue card. When you are having a pencil in your hand and the card, you are going to write it in the bullets form. For example, they asked you, okay, who is your favorite personality? um, तो you may write, for example, who is your favorite. आप इस क्वेश्चन का आंसर दे दें कि वन वर्ड में, कि who is your favorite personality. फिर आप लिखिए कि why is he or she your favorite personality. Then you are going to write that what are his or her qualities. दो तीन आप pen down, one or one two three, two or three. उसकी क्वालिटीज लेके, what are the reasons for his being your favorite. तो आप लेके 1 मिनट आपके पास होता है, you have 1 minute time to prepare the cue card, mean to cue card आपके पास होगा. When the examiner, after 1 minute, the examiner will start asking you about the questions in the cue card which you have prepared. You are going to talk continuously for 2 minutes without stop or without interruption of the examiner. मीन के पार्ट 2 में आपको एक क्यू कार्ड दिया जाता है. That is called cue card. That there is a topic on which you are going to talk for 2 minutes, from 1 to 2 minutes, in which you are given 1 minute by the examiner, during which you are going to write some bullet points on which you are going to talk for the next 2 minutes to the examiner non-stop. Mean the examiner will not even interrupt for a millisecond. He will just listen and he will just carry on, continue what are you going to say. One thing to keep in mind about IELTS, we have IELTS speaking, we have to talk about many different things which you are going to um, remember. The most important thing which you keep in mind, you are not, it is not an interview. Mean interview judge your knowledge, judge your current affairs, judge your general knowledge, etc. But this thing mean oils, it is an English proficiency test. The examiner just test your English speaking proficiency, whether you can express yourself in a better way about something or not. Mean sometime if you have got a topic which you are not familiar with, you can just refer that to some of your familiar aspect of your mind. Mean कि मतलब for example you are asked about some uh, for example you are asked about a topic which are you not familiar with. आपसे cosmetics के बारे में पूछा गया which you are not familiar with, so you may reproduce your own self about the little bits and pieces of knowledge that you have in your mind about that topic, and speak continuously or non-stoply about that without uh, thinking about that whether you are going somewhat wrong, right, etc. There is no wrong or right answer in IELTS. They and IELTS speaking, they are just checking your English speaking proficiency. Under English speaking proficiency, many things comes which I will discuss later on today. Then we have part 3 of IELTS, which also lasts for 4 to 5 minutes or 3 to 4 minutes. Overall, it comes about 11 to 14 minutes. The examiner will take 11 to 14 minutes to talk to you to uh, take your speaking IELTS speaking test. Then there is a discussion in the part 3, but all the discussion is based on the prompt question or prompt question of part 2. यानी part 2 के बेस पर all the questions are relevant to the part 2. part 2 में आपने क्यू कार्ड में जो questions already discuss किए हैं, so that is the generated or prompt from those part 2 cue card. So part 3 is based on part 2. In part 1, it is all about you. They ask about your interest, work, job, yourself, all about you. And part 2, they give you a topic and you are uh, they give you 1 minute time. You are going to prepare some bullets points for that topic in 1 minute. After that 1 minute, you are going to speak talking. Your examiner asks you that your time is up and you start speaking about the cue card. Whatever the question is given in the cue card, you are going to talk about that continuously for 2 minutes, and after that the examiner will start asking you questions which will be totally based on the cue card kini mean part 2, and that would be part 3 of the IELTS. IELTS speaking format is introduction, general topic, and conversation. You know that introduction is part 1, then conversation, general topic, that is general topic of cue card, and conversation, that is all about the your probe questions from cue card part 2. So introduction, it lasts for 4 to 5 minutes. General topic, this continues for 3 to 4 minutes, including your preparation, 1 minute preparation time. And then the conversation based on part two, mean the general topic, which is based on the general topic on the cue card of part two. This conversation lasts for 4 to 5 minutes. There are some tips for IELTS speaking round. For example, the very first tip is to be descriptive. As I already told you, be descriptive mean to reproduce yourself, whatever you know about the thing, the question that is asked you. You mean not to stop anywhere, avoid pauses, avoid repetition. You need to be telling continuously, carry on saying something. It means that you may not go blank. You may not go blank at any point the examiner asks you a question. The question which the examiner asks is not actually a question. That is the information the examiner want to reproduce from you, which is based on your background knowledge. Mean वो जो भी question पूछेगा, that will be you will know about that question very well. अच्छा, मीट ऑल आस्क आप पार्ट टू टॉपिक, यानी पार्ट टू में जितने भी क्वेश्चंस आपसे पूछे गए हैं, द ऑल द क्वेश्चंस आस्क्ड इन द क्यू कार्ड, यू नीड टू address all the parts, mean not to avoid or not to leave out any of the topic or the question given in the part 2. यानी हर एक के लिए आप एक बुलेट पॉइंट बनाएं and then include that in your speaking when you are talking about that topic in part 2 cue card. Number three, note down bullet points. The 1 minute time that the examiner gives you about the for the cue card to prepare yourself. So you need to note down bullet points for that. Simple English mean you need to say speak extremely simple language. It means that you are not required to speak high five sentences, complex sentences, very slow type you can speak, but they don't ask you. They ask you for mean they are judging your simple English proficiency, that whether you can reproduce yourself, express yourself in English, whether you are able to talk about yourself or some other topic or other people in English or not, because it is basically for the countries which are English speaking countries, and where you are where you need to talk in thoroughly in English with the people. For example, you are not supposed to talk in any other language in those countries. That's why they conduct IELTS international English language test from you, which is simply we can say English proficiency test. Then number 5, you see, speak slowly with appropriate pauses. Speak slowly with appropriate pauses mean you need not to hurry up too much. You need to keep appropriate pace. Pace mean रफ्तार, कि आप अपने पेस को स्लो रखे और मतलब आप इसमें मतलब गेप्स ना रखे. pauses का मतलब है कि मतलब where you need to take a pause, so you need to take a pause. For example, yes, I am an English teacher. I teach English for about 15 years. So, for example, the pauses where you need, so you need to put that down there, mean to take a pause where needed, and don't hurry up. Don't be panic and don't hurry up while speaking. Speak appropriate with appropriate pauses and speak slowly. Then the examiner, he has 4 parameters for you. They judge you with 4 parameters. उनके पास आपको जज करने के लिए 4 पैरामीटर्स होते हैं. 4 पैरामीटर्स के जरिए आपको जज करते हैं. पहला पैरामीटर उनके पास होता है fluency. Fluency doesn't mean to speak extremely fast. Yani fluency doesn't mean fast speaking. Fluency doesn't mean fast speaking. Fluency just mean that you speak appropriately with appropriate pauses without having reluctant mean long blanks and long silence, etc. This is the strongest point in IELTS speaking. Fluency ये आपकी सबसे बड़ी strongest point होती है. In fluency, confident is also included. Confident and able for talking about different topics mean fluency में वो देखते हैं कि आप confident हैं कि नहीं with English. Are you good at English and are you can you talk about different topics? You need to come up with ideas and to come up with ideas mean you need to speak continuously with appropriate pace and appropriate pauses without going blank. Acha, avoid hesitation. Avoid hesitation or long pauses. Mean pauses without need. Keep on talking about anything they ask you. Keep on talking. Mean don't go blank. Avoid self repetition and self correction. For example, you say something and you correct them that word again, or you repeat some word time and again. You need not to avoid repetition. This is counted as negative, which will give you less IELTS bands. And self repetition. Avoid self repetition. Some people sometimes repeat the words time and again. Use synonyms. Use synonyms. For example, you are going to talk about a topic, so you need not to repeat the same word time and again in your speaking. You need to use some synonyms for that. And this synonyms also comes in the comes in fluency as well, but this also comes in vocabulary, which I am going to talk about right now. For example, they ask you, okay, give your experiences with some, for example, with something like they ask you to give your experiences about an art gallery and you have never been to an art gallery. So you may share the experiences of your friends or whatever your experiences you have about that in your mind, but you don't need to go blank or become silent in front of the examiner, which will be counted as negative. Just keep talking. Link a topic with another better topic that you are understanding or you are better at, and you have better vocabulary about that and speak. The another thing which we will talk about later on as well, but that is influency that comes under the umbrella of fluency, that is intonation. You know, intonation is the rise and fall of your voice. Sometime you are going to make your voice louder, sometime you are coming down, slowing down a bit, changing your this is changing your pace. Not speak thoroughly in the same pace. Lower down. बारे में इसमें एक word. Vocabulary is the storehouse of the words that you know. Vocabulary use extensive mean that you need different words same meaning. Different words but vocabulary mean different words for the same meaning. Meaning you need not word time and again. मैं vocabulary के साथ for example so, for example, you can use sometime the word breathtaking, sometime in outstanding, sometime astonishing, sometime hair raising, etc. Mean you can use different words for this for vocabulary. For example, I have this slide. You may look at this. This makes me happy. The food makes me happy. The people makes me happy. This seems very awkward to say the word happy, happy, happy time and again, and to use the same structure. Okay, the city makes me happy, the makes me happy, and the people makes me happy. In order to avoid repetition and boredom, and as it mar or describe the beauty of speaking, so you can say like this. For example, this city is magnificent. The food here is delicious. The people are so welcoming. So if you use the words like this, for example, happy, happy की बजाय you use magnificent, delicious, welcoming appropriately in the sentences. So this will give you a handsome edge in the vocabulary session. Then we have grammar, grammatical. It is extremely important to have your grammatical and accuracy. I also suggest you some tenses for IELTS test to use in your for your test preparation. Avoid explanation in the अच्छा फर्स्ट पार्ट ये मैंने आपको बता दिया कि मतलब इस पार्ट में आप फर्स्ट पार्ट में आपने इस तरह मतलब एक्सप्लेनेशन में नहीं। अच्छा वोकेबलरी के बारे में बात करते हैं तो मोस्टली कम्स कोलोकेशन कोलोकेशन आप जानते नहीं हैं मोस्टली द पीपल हु आर नॉट द स्टूडेंट्स ऑफ इंग्लिश लिटरेचर और मास्टर इंग्लिश or PS English they may not know about some of the words collocation but you search it in Google and come up with some collocations में collocations का आपको थोड़ा सा ये collocation का आपको थोड़ा सा बताना चाहता हूँ कि फॉर एग्जाम्पल वी से सम टाइम सम पहले आता है टाइम बाद में आता है ब्लैक एंड व्हाइट ब्लैक पहले आता है व्हाइट बाद में आता है इन अदर वर्ड्स ऑन द अदर हैंड on the other hand with respect to that like this मतलब ये कोलोकेशन है ग्रामर के लिहाज से आपके लिए बहुत आम है मतलब दिस स्कोर टू हाई यूज एडियमेटिक लैंग्वेज यानी एडियमेटिक लैंग्वेज का मतलब है कि मतलब जिस तरह के इस्तिलाही माना इस्तेमाल ना करे मतलब एडियमेटिक वर्ड्स इस्तेमाल करे इस पर मैं आपके साथ ग्रामर के सेशन में मैंने आपको कहा था ग्रामर का एक सेशन रखता हूँ उसमें आपके साथ डिस्कशन करूंगे इंशाल्लाह विल डिस्कस इन इट इन द types of sentences and clauses and conjunctions, etc. We'll talk about that in a session, and I will talk about it in detail and tenses as well, inshallah. Especially when the examiner asks you a question, use some direct synonyms. For example, direct synonyms mean वो आपसे कोई सवाल पूछता है you need not to repeat the same words of the speaker you need to rephrase or paraphrase the question of the examiner यानी आपने उसके वर्ड्स को रिपीट नहीं करना है आपने अपने अल्फाज बोलना है विच विद द सेम मीनिंग तो ये ग्रामर के लिहाज से इंतहाई अहम है ग्रामेटिकल रेंज एंड एक्यूरेसी दिस इज the strongest point the use of a range of complex structure good tenses more correct tenses आपके लिए क्या है मोर करेक्ट टेंसेस आपके लिए हैं मैं आपको सजेस्ट करता हूँ टेंसेस फॉर द आइल टेस्ट दिस इज प्रेजेंट ऑल मीन प्रेजेंट सिंपल प्रेजेंट पास्ट सिंपल ऑल प्रेजेंट सिंपल पास्ट सिंपल और फ्यूचर सिंपल ये तीन ये हो गए प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट और प्रेजेंट परफेक्ट कंटिन्यूअस present perfect or may I suggested you five tenses for IELTS test to prepare or work about that when you are answering the questions during your IELTS test you need to use a multi structure and multi tenses for example um, except for tenses you also need to use conditional clauses relative clauses subordinate clauses ये बहुत आम है another thing to keep in mind for example, the tense is extremely important to answer. For example, the examiner asks you, how long have you been living in Karachi? How long have you been working there? How long have so mostly the people say, I am living in Karachi, I am working in this department. ये आपकी negative count होता है this is blunder on the part of the examinee and you need to strictly avoid such answers mean you are going to answer in the same tense in which the examiner asks you for example the examiner asks you how long have you been working in this department you say I have been working in this department since 2009 for example so since और for इसका use भी इंतहाई अहम है if the examiner asks in present perfect continuous tense from you अगर वो उस टेंस में आपसे पूछता है तो ये भी जहन में रखें कि फॉर एग्जांपल द एग्जामिनर आस्क यू इन पास्ट सिंपल यू नीड टू आंसर इन द पास्ट सिंपल व्हेन डिड यू व्हेन डिड यू स्टार्टेड प्लेइंग टेनिस तो when did you start playing tennis you say for example is your hobby you say I started playing tennis like this मतलब उसी टेंस में आपने आंसर देना है you need to use the same tense ये मैंने ग्रामर के बारे में आपको बता दिया अच्छा प्रोनाउंसिएशन is extremely important point as well. प्रोनाउंसिएशन के बारे में मैं आपको थोड़ा सा बता रहा हूँ कि प्रोनाउंसिएशन का मतलब है कि आप एग्जामिनर ने जो पूछा आपसे, मतलब जब आप बोलते हैं तो आप सही तलफ़ुज़ के साथ बोलें। इसके लिए मैं आपको एक सजेशन देता हूँ कि आप एलोन रूम में बैठे, आप किसी टॉपिक को ले लें, उसके क्वेश्चंस आंसर्स को उसके क्वेश्चन के आंसर दे दें और फिर अपने रिकॉर्डिंग को खुद दोबारा सुनें। जब आप अपने रिकॉर्डिंग को दोबारा सुनते हैं तो यू पॉइंट डाउन योर मतलब योर प्रोनाउंसिएशन, योर फ्लुएंसी, योर वोकेबलरी, योर ग्रामर, और फिर आप उन चीजों को जो आपको लगते हैं कि यू आर नॉट करेक्ट इन प्रोनाउंसिंग द वर्ड, यू आर नॉट करेक्ट इन आंसरिंग द क्वेश्चन, you are not correct tense wise, or you did not use the high variety of vocabulary, you just stick to a few words and you repeated those words time and again, or you were having some extremely slow pace or extremely fast pace. So you need to avoid such things and you are from your speaking then. Acha, then we have some tips for IELTS speaking. First of all, we have IELTS speaking style. Just speaking style, you can say. Speaking style is extremely important. For example, you need to um, record your answers or record your speaking and note down your style of speaking, that whether you are using a correct format of speaking according to the IELTS test or not. Yeah, as we talked about already, that you need to answer according to the tense. You need to use a why. Then another step. First of all, you need to keep in mind speaking style. Second one is develop your vocabulary. vocabulary मतलब है कि आपने एक अच्छी vocabulary मतलब synonyms इस्तेमाल करने. You must have a variety of vocabulary to use in during the test. Third one is don't memorize. Sometimes people takes a lot of interviews and they memorize their, for example, they at least memorize their intro. The examiners soon judge your rhetoricization. They come to know that you have rhetoricized some answers when you are speaking in front of them, and they mark it as negative. Keep it in mind, never memorize a question answer. You just practice about multi-topics and be natural while answering the question. Mean don't go to rhetoricization. Clear पता चलता है कि इसने रट लिया है और रटा लगाकर अभी मुझे आंसर दे रहा है, so that is counted as negative. Number four, describe local words. Local words का मतलब है, for example, the British Council examiners, they are mostly British. They are British, and you are telling them biryani, and for example, you don't know biryani. For example, you say what is. He asks you what is your favorite dish. How often you eat that? When you eat it for the last time? Who was with you? How often? Who cook it in your home? इस तरह के क्वेश्चंस वो होते हैं सारे. फॉर एग्जांपल, यू आर ask about biryani and then you need to describe the word, that what is biryani. Biryani is our for example a very famous dish used in our city. For example, the people eat it with great fervor, etc. For example, you say rice that is famous in my city, a type of a style of cooking rice with some meat or chicken, etc. with some types of spices, and it is very spicy, etc. matlab you need to describe whatever the word is you think is local. The examiner may not know about it, that he may not count it as negative, or may think about it as somewhat pronunciation problem. He may know about the word, that what is the local word you spoke just. Speak English का मतलब है कि you need to speak continuously talking. You need not to stop at any point in front of the examiners. Speaking English mean keep speaking English. Number six, these 5 points you need to keep these 5 points before going to the test. Speaking style, develop your vocabulary, don't memorize, describe local words, and speaking English. The next 5 points are the points which you would need during the session, mean during the test. Avoid repetition. Avoid repetition when you are answering the questions. You need to avoid repetition of some words and use vocabulary words, different variety of words, definitions, pronouns, etc. But don't repeat the same word time and again in your speaking. Then you have bullet points in speaking part 2. Bullet points in speaking part 2 mean that when you are given the cue card you have only just 1 minute, so you need to quickly make the bullet points which you are going to talk about for the next 2 minutes continuously. Steady mean you don't be go too fast while speaking. एड डिटेल्स का मतलब है कि आप डिटेल्स के साथ मतलब give a little bit more details, mean you don't give just one word answer. Don't just say I like badminton. Say for example, why I like badminton, whom do you play with, who does make it how does make it you feel, for example. Mean don't just go for one word answer, add a little detail, a bit detail to it. The last one is relax. Relax is the first one. For example, when you sit in the IELTS test in front of the examiner, I told you before as well. In the beginning, they take him as your friend. Get relaxed. Don't think that he is the examiner. Think him to be your friend, and you are. He is not interviewing you. He is just telling you. He is just checking your, testing your English speaking proficiency. Um, I have much to say about it, but as the session is going to end, I will soon arrange a session on grammar, inshallah, which will be totally, inshallah, a fruitful session on next Monday. It will be about grammar structure, clauses, conjunctions, complex sentences, compound sentences, and somewhat tenses if I can include. If I can't include, so we'll keep a separate session for that. Uh, for tenses, because tenses is somewhat lengthy topic itself. That's all. Thank you.